Hi.
Hi.
This took some effort.
It did take some effort. Oh, I apologize. I was sick.
No. It's all right. How are you? How's your day?
It's good. I had a couple arguments with some Miamians about traffic, but other than that, it was okay.
I mean, that's like a standard.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's normal.
It's totally normal.
I've been out here hustling all my life. Every day we get into it. Really out here in these streets. That's day and night. Like there's nothing to it. When I was going through it, dog, I never got your call. I never asked for nothing, no. But now I want it all. I promise I'ma do it. Came from rags to riches. Rags to riches. Came from rags to riches. Rags to riches. Came from rags.
So what's a typical day in the life of Dr. Lina Haji? Tell me.
Wow. I don't know that I have a typical day because, so I'm a forensic psychologist and I have my own practice. So I would say a typical day is first gym. Gym gets me going.
I see you hitting the gym on your Instagram.
Thank you. Yeah. My little workout videos.
It's attractive.
It's thank you. It keeps me accountable. So probably hit the gym and then I will maybe see one or two patients either via telehealth, from my house, or I go to the jails or juvenile detention center, or sometimes I have to testify in court. And then the rest of my day is pretty boring. I'm usually typing reports. I did a lot of paperwork
about the mental health.
Yeah. So I do forensic evaluations. System. Yeah, exactly. So, you meet with them as part of it, but most of the work is in typing up the evaluation. Is there ever a situation where you tell the judge, listen, I need to meet with this person? Or is it always typically like, oh, just read these papers? And No, I meet with them first and then I type up the report. So you always meet with the person? Always, yeah. Okay. Always. Yeah, because I was like, damn, you're going to evaluate them just on documents? I would never do that. I mean, you can do that in terms of like consultation for lawyers. I actually just had a call for that. But I would never testify to an opinion on somebody that I haven't met and evaluated. That would be really unethical. Yeah. That's pretty well. Yeah. So, I mean, some people wouldn't have a problem with it, I don't get down like that. Good. That's good to hear. I know enough about you to where I would trust you on a professional level. I appreciate that. Thank you. Do you only do forensic work for the court? Is that, or do you have some like psychologist clients maybe? No, I used to people think psychologists, they automatically think therapy and that I'm just sitting there for an hour talking to somebody about their problems. I used to do that, but it's really not my interest. I've always been in the criminal justice system, so I don't do therapy. I haven't done therapy in years. I do sometimes what we would call a clinical evaluation, like if somebody wants to know if they have ADHD or autism. I do some of those a little bit here and there, but mostly my work is forensic, which just means in the criminal justice system. Yeah. Okay. That's my passion. So I remember you telling me that you grew up, both your parents worked in the United Nations? Yes, they did. You're half French and half what? So my father is originally Indian from East Africa, Tanzania. My mother's French from France. I was born in Switzerland and raised in New York. I never even knew Tanzania was a country until I went to prison, and my neighbor in my neighboring prison cell was a gentleman from Tanzania. No way. A Muslim gentleman named Yuma. How interesting. Yeah, the nicest old man you've ever met in your life. I bet. Yeah, Tanzanians are pretty awesome. He's I hope he's doing well. Yuma, if you're watching this. Yuma, I hope you're doing well. I hope you get out. He's probably out by now. He had finished most of his time. Okay. But he had gotten transferred there to finish like his last few months. That's so random. Yeah. Tanzanian, that's really random. I didn't even know that was like a country. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. And he represented, there's only like 5% of the population that's Muslim there or something like that. My dad was Muslim. Well, he wasn't a practicing Muslim, but right. My last name is Haji, which is super Muslim. My parents were not religious at all, but he was technically Muslim. Interesting. Okay. So your parents meet in the UN? Yeah. Okay. And they met at the United Nations. There's two, one in Switzerland and one in New York. They met at the one in Switzerland, which is where I was born, and my sister was born. And then my dad got transferred to the one in New York. So I always wonder, like, if they had stayed in Switzerland, would I be like herding sheep or something? Maybe you'd be a banker. Maybe I'd be a really rich banker. Bro, listen, you fit the bill to be a Swiss banker. No way. Yes, bro. You're like... You're a very professional, attractive-looking woman, right? Thank you. Can pull the suit off. Like, definitely Swiss banker all the way, for sure. Yeah, but you got to be kind of... I suck at math. That's like a math.
They're not good at math. They're just good at schmoozing, you know?
Yeah, I'm not.
Fair enough. So he gets transferred to the UN in New York.
Yeah, and that's where I was raised.
What part of New York are you from?
I grew up in Manhattan in the city. I lived in the Bronx for 7 years. I lived in Queens for like 5.
I had a high school friend. Her name was Frances. Frances, if you ever see this or hear this, which you probably won't, I love you. Miss you.
Hi, Frances.
I haven't seen her in a long time. Anyway, you'd ask her, Frances, where are you from? From Manhattan.
Manhattan. Yeah. They say
Manhattan.
that New Yorkers say the city.
Yeah,
I'm from Manhattan, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me, so obviously you're from Manhattan, you're born there. Tell me, what do you, like, what was it like growing up? What interested you? What caught your eye as far as like a career, maybe life in school, graduating?
So growing up in New York to me was amazing. And I don't just say that because, New Yorkers always have to tell everybody they're from New York. But since my parents worked for the United Nations, I went to the United Nations school. So my friends were like black, white, Chinese, Japanese, green, rich, poor.
Interesting.
So I didn't even know that racism existed until like later in life. Have you been in New York?
Of course.
Okay, so you know that it's like a super. They say Miami's a melting pot. I kind of disagree.
New York was the original melting pot for sure.
Like, and we're on top of each other, so like you have to get along. I find when people say like, "Oh, Miami's a melting pot," I'm like, I don't know. I find Miami like Haitians are over there, Cubans are over there, Jews are like. I don't.
It is a melting pot. Like we all like. There's all kinds of us here.
Yes.
But it's a bigger space. It's a bigger city.
Correct.
Like it's a wider city. We're not like on top of each other in these buildings. Like this is Manhattan, kind of.
True. Brickell, yeah.
Yeah.
So I loved New York for that reason because, I didn't, my parents were almost colorblind to a fault. Like I almost wish they had been more like, hey, racism exists and you're probably going to experience some of it. Because first time it happened, I was like, what? I thought this was like in Alabama only or in the movies or like 50, 60 years ago. And it's then you realize, no, it's still alive and well. So New York was awesome in that respect. I played a lot of sports. I was a gymnast. I played basketball. I got to travel a lot because of the United Nations. And then at age 9, I started suffering from actually depression and anxiety, and nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. I had stopped eating for 3 months, and my parents took me to neurologists and cardiologists and pediatricians, and nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. And then finally, they took me to a doctor who, was the first doctor I felt like was really asking me the questions that nobody else had asked me. How do you feel? What are you thinking? What's going on? What do you wish was different? And when I left that office, that was the first time that I felt like hopeful. I mean, it sounds like such a corny story, and I asked my mom, what kind of doctor is that? And she was like, that's a psychologist. And I was like, sold. That's what I'm going to do. Like I felt heard. And I was like, that's it. And I knew at age 9, I wanted to be a psychologist.
I've always found psychology interesting, like how the human mind works, why we think the way we think.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, the human mind is interesting to say the least. Like thought patterns and the default behaviors and all this kind of stuff. I could talk about that forever.
Oh well, you picked the right person. And also humans are so similar and yet they're so different. Like what makes us so different?
That's actually a good way to describe it.
Yeah,
like, we're very different, but ultimately we all want the same things.
Agreed.
We think we're different, but we're not.
Yeah.
Which is what I think is funny about the world. Like, war is about differences. It's because you want this and I want that, and we have to fight over it. And to me, it's meaningless because it's like we all want the same thing. We all want love and affection and to be heard, peace, right?
Serenity, yeah.
We all want the same exact things.
I agree. I think, of course, my parents working for the United Nations, a peace organization, kumbaya, war, it was like, to me is still the dumbest thing, killing women and children and innocent people for what?
Over nothing.
For what? Yeah. Money, power, greed. That's where your psychopaths come in. It's my area of expertise.
Do you agree that like these negative emotions like greed and like wrath, they're just kind of like the extreme versions of a somewhat softer emotion? Like greed, I think, can be, instead of greed, it could be ambition if you don't let it go out of control. Or maybe like lust can be passion if you control it and you direct it, Yeah,
I think that's a really good way to look at it. It's like quote unquote normal emotions that have gone awry, right? Because we all have You know, the 7 deadly sins, if you will. We all have that. We all have capable of that. And if anybody who says they're not is lying to themselves.
Right.
And yeah, but I think it depends on the individual. And I think obviously there's a fine line. There's, you know, everything in moderation. That's very cliche, but I think that's pretty true. Ambition is amazing, but when it turns to greed, you know, and you're doing a disservice to your fellow humans, then that's when it becomes a problem. In my personal opinion, I don't have a problem with people striving to make millions, billions, having the finer things in life. But if you're stepping on people to get it, now there's a problem, right. In my opinion.
Right. It's not so much your goal or what you want in life. It's how you get there. Like, the means is never like, what am I trying to say?
Justify the ends, yeah.
The ends never justifies the means.
Right. Like, look at Bernie Madoff.
They just did the movie about him, The Wizard of Lies. Have you seen it?
I haven't yet.
I saw part of it, and
like, sir, you were successful and fine and had a great, like, you didn't have to take people's life savings.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do that.
Yeah. It's pretty, the way the movie made it seem is that he had like gone so out of line and stolen so much money that he turned himself, like, he just had to admit it.
I think I saw that on a documentary.
Can you imagine? Like 60, he Ponzi scheme $65 billion. So it's like, all right, bro, this is just
too far.
I can't. I'm scared. FBI. Hey, look, listen, bro, this is what I'm doing. It's crazy.
I think people think a lot that white collar crimes don't really have victims as much as, you know, regular crimes, if you will. But if you see some of his victims that are interviewed, you see like 80, 90-year-olds who are like, my life savings were wiped out because I trusted this man, and I'm 90 and I'm working at Walmart because I can't pay my mortgage. Like, it's so heartbreaking. There are victims, you know.
Yeah. I think white collar crimes have a tendency to not really, oh yeah, whatever. You kind of like brush him aside. He didn't kill anybody. He didn't stab anybody. He didn't rape anybody.
Yeah,
you know?
And corporations are greedy anyway. We hate them. Yeah. But when you look at people, again, my life savings or my daughter's college tuition is gone and I'm homeless. It's like.
Speaking as someone who committed a white collar crime, I kind of, in retrospect, I see the effect that my specific type of white collar crime has on the world, right? So, for example, I was involved in a health insurance fraud case. So, basically, what happened in my case was I would refer these clients to this clinic, and the clinic would pay me for referring them. Right? What's the problem? You're not rendering the services, so obviously it's fraud, right? Okay. You're stealing this money, and you're paying me to steal money from the insurance company. Right. That's not even where the problem ends. Where the problem ends is the insurance company is federally backed. So what are they going to do? They're going to cry to the federal government, and then the federal government is going to reimburse them. Okay. With what? With taxpayer dollars.
I see. So it's full circle.
So the fraud goes full circle.
Right. So interesting.
If I really had to think about it, I played a small part, but I'm stealing from like the American people at the end of the day. Which you can get into, and I agree with, like, they shouldn't be federally backed. I don't like insurance. Yes, all that, yes. But at the end of the day, that's how the system is. And because of my actions, like, it made everything as a whole worse, you know?
Yeah, it's amazing that you see that and that you're able to talk about it, because honestly, when you first, like you said, when somebody first says, oh yeah, my crime was against health insurance company, who cares? Yeah, I hate health insurance companies.
I don't either, but that
my premium sucks and my copays suck, and it's like, but it's much deeper than that. 100%, and it's still dishonest.
100%. So I've seen the effect that white collar crime can have on the world, and it affects people who don't even have anything to do with your case or weren't involved. Right. You know, it goes deeper than that.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
Yeah. Whether it's mortgage fraud, you know, whatever. Yeah. It all leads back to people who have nothing to do with it paying the price. Right. Always. Yeah. And it's crazy that I went through prison and everything. It made me more empathic. Like, I'm a bit of an empath now, and it scares me to a point, to be honest with you, because I wasn't like this before prison. Like, I didn't have this ability to like sit there and like really sense how other people feel. And this is a theory. I really don't know where it came from, but I think like when you're in prison and you get treated a certain way and you get treated like you're not even a human. Mm-hmm. You would never dare treat anybody else like that.
I could see that.
You know,
I could see that.
Speaking for myself, like, because I know what it's like to get yelled at and like to get your whole locker turned over and all your property destroyed, and like just to be disrespected on a subhuman level. Right. That you were like, man, I'm never going to do this to anybody.
See, but that's very interesting, because I've worked with hardened criminals, serial killers, psychopaths, you name it. Some people will take that and go the other way with it. You treated me horribly, so now I'm going to treat everybody else horribly too. I'm going to take it out on everybody else. So, and I'm not saying that's necessarily the case, but I've seen it gone that way. Or you see people that are treated horribly by the COs, by the system, by the judges, by the courts, and then they just get to the point where it's like, well, everybody treats me horribly anyway, so I'm just going to be out for self, and I'm going to treat everybody else horribly. Yeah, that's also another way you could have gone. Yeah, but it probably would have landed you back in prison.
Yeah, that's what I see. It's pretty sad. Like a lot of people I met in there, they just became a product of the system. And to take it a step further, it's actually that ties into like people who keep committing crime. Like it's not just like, I'm going to take it out on everybody else. That system makes you feel like you're worth nothing.
Absolutely.
So it's like, if no one cares about me, I'm just going to go out and steal and rob and kill, and who cares? Like, no one cares about me.
100%. And I think it varies. I mean, I've never worked in the federal system, but in state systems, I've seen it so drastically different from state to state. In New York, for example, if you do time, and I'm not saying any system is perfect because they're all broken, but, in New York, they have a lot more rehabilitation, job skills, education, setting you up with mental health appointments when you get out, help it with housing, help with transportation, help with organizations who hire ex-felons, things like that. In Florida, there's none of that. Yeah. It's like, here's a bus pass, good luck. And so you look at that and you're like,
don't even give you that.
Yeah, right.
Don't even give you that.
Yeah. So if you have no job skills, no education, a lot of my inmates can't read and write. You have no family support. And I'm not saying that justifies their behaviors. That's not what I'm saying, because people, then think I'm a hug a thug. And no, people are responsible for their actions. You make 100%. A choice every day. But when the whole world is set up to have you fail and recommit offenses, what do you really expect?
I agree.
I mean, I can't say I wouldn't be like, F it. Like, I'm going to go back to selling because nobody's hiring me and I can't have a roof over my head.
Once the person, like, we're talking about a person who did their time. We're not talking about a person who's like committing the crime to give them. No. They did their time.
Right.
So as a society, you need to be like, all right, he paid his debt to society. Let's move on.
100%. So 100%. Because why are we punishing you for the rest of your life?
Correct.
What's done is done.
And I'll take it a step further. Like, the punishment is the sentence. So like, why are you punishing me while I'm in prison? Being in prison is a punishment.
Of course.
So like, while I'm in there, it's like more punishment, more punishment. Like, dude, I'm already here. Right. Like,
yeah, there's no need to disrespect, dehumanize. I'm at the bottom already.
Yeah. I would say that you got like prison psychologists. The ones I met were very nice people.
Were they? Good to know.
They were good. I mean,
I've met both. I've worked with both.
It was nice people. Just doing their job. I mean, they didn't go above and beyond, but they were the nicer of the people in the prison for sure. So.
Yeah, it's a tough job. I'm not going to lie, Yeah. You want to, especially when I was younger, I thought I'm going to work in prisons and I'm going to save every single person. And then you realize, number one, I can't. And number two, some people don't want to be saved. And number three, you can't save somebody who doesn't want to save themselves. So if you're working with an inmate who's like, F you, and I'm going to kill you when I get out, and all, you're just like, I can't wave a magic wand and do therapy cell side with you or whatever. If you really like, this is who you want to be. 100%. I can't do anything.
Personal responsibility.
Correct.
I was just telling, I had Kevin, a friend of mine, on a previous podcast. We were just talking about personal responsibility, how responsibility is such an interesting thing, because the second you accept responsibility is the second you realize that your life is totally in your control. And
it's freeing.
It is, but some people don't want to accept responsibility because they don't want to accept the truth that your life is the way it is because of you,
Agreed.
They want the power to be on somebody else or some other circumstance, so that way, that's why my life is the way it is. That's why I ended up in prison. That's why, my wife left me or whatever. It's because of that. I can't control that. Okay, so poor me. But if they were like, no, it is my fault, then it's like, holy shit, wow. So my life sucks because I chose to make it that way. It's daunting. It is freeing though.
It is freeing. I think at first it's hard because it's easier to play the victim.
Yeah.
It was my father, it was my mother, it was the job, it was the government, Correct. It was my neighborhood, it was society. Correct. Yeah, they might have played a role in that. Even people who have had atrocious upbringings, abuse and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, there's a power in being like, I made these choices. And once you accept that, the reason it's freeing is because now you can do it different.
100%.
Right? You can 100%. Be like, okay, it is my fault. So what can I do different next time?
For sure.
It's powerful.
It's eye-opening for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, the familiar voice of your host, Nelson Rodriguez Jr., taking a quick detour to talk to you about the best jewelry shop on the internet, Gus Villa Jewelry. Let's be honest here, guys. Jewelers in Miami are super shady sometimes. I've even been ripped off once or twice by one of these self-proclaimed alchemists that ended up being these weirdos who sell you a bunch of stuff that make your neck and your fingers turn black. Let me tell you, after I met my boy, Gus Villa, he elevated my bling game. The Gus Villa team, these guys are more than just jewelers. These guys are magicians turning metal and stone into your next head turner. Trust me, these pieces shine so much you can see them from outer space. Head over to GusVillaJewelry.com, and because you're a Monty, that's right, part of the Montana Method crew, you can use the promo code Montana to snatch 5% off your order. You don't just get hooked up with some shine, you get to have some dough in your pocket. Double whammy. So guys, what are you waiting for? Elevate your jewelry game. Show the world what you got. You got some style, you got some bling, you're all blinged up. Come on back after you do that. We've got more Montana Method Madness waiting for you. Now back to the podcast. Did you see anybody in prison that didn't belong there?
So I never outright, to my knowledge, I never outright met somebody who I was like, oh my God, like I need to call the Innocence Project. Like this is so bad. They're definitely not supposed to be here. To my knowledge, I never met anyone like that, but I did see people get really badly railroaded where they might have had some culpability or they might have done some crimes, and all of a sudden something that warranted 3 to 5, they're serving life.
10 to 20 years.
Yeah, or something insane like that. Or, you know, things like felony murder where you went into the store with your homeboy and he decides to shoot the clerk and rob it, and you literally had no idea, but you're there.
That sucks.
Yeah, that law is
It's terrible.
It's a bad, in my opinion, it's a bad law under certain circumstances. And so, wait, you didn't pull the trigger, you didn't even rob, you just went in there with your boy and he made a stupid decision and now you also got hit with life. I've seen things like that. Or people who don't know the legal system well enough, who took a raw deal, a plea deal, out of fear, things like, I've seen a lot of that. As far as somebody literally like, God, this person's innocent, I never came across that.
That's rough.
Yeah.
I remember you saying something to the effect of that you had an interesting experience where like you weren't in danger, but something was kind of dangerous was happening, and the first people to help you were the prisoners, not the guards.
Absolutely, 100%.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Can you tell a story?
Yeah. I love this story. So I was really young. I was 23 years old. I only had a bachelor's degree, and I was working in a minimum security, like a work release prison in Jersey.
Okay.
And
I guess that's the state equivalent of like a prison camp.
Yeah.
Because that's where I was.
Oh, you were in prison camp. Okay.
Yeah, in a federal prison camp. But
yeah. So did you work during the day?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, okay. So the inmates leave during the day.
No. Oh, we're there. We can't leave, but we worked there. Like
on the camp.
Yeah. On site, we have jobs.
Okay. This was one step further where they left during the day to go work. I mean, there were stages. You had to get to that
like
stage.
A halfway house.
It was like a halfway house, but they called it a halfway back program because DOC was still in charge. So they still had to cuff up.
That's how ours are called re-entry
same
programs
difference.
Or whatever, but it's a halfway house.
Yeah, same difference. So, I mean, they still have to cuff up. There's still the box, the shoe. There's still all of that. And it's a phase program. So you have to get to the point where you've earned enough trust to go out and work. So it was one of those, I was young. I was, whatever. And I remember my office was like in the middle of the pods. A lot of times my office was in the middle of the pods, like just surrounded by inmates all day, which is not fun. And I'm in my office, and some couple inmates come running, and they say, I obviously didn't have my doctorate yet. They're like, Miss Haji, get in your office and close the door. I'm like, what the hell? It turns out the Bloods and the Latin Kings were rioting. Yeah, they were rioting, like literally just mayhem, like at least 20, 30, 40 inmates going at it. They're rioting. And what was super interesting was the inmates not only told me to get in my office, but they then stood around my office and surrounded it to make sure that nobody hurt me.
Wow.
Yeah. And like 15 minutes later, the COs come running out of breath, and they're like...
Because all the COs are out of shape and they're fat. Eating donuts all day.
Yeah,
oh my God! Don't even get me started. All the prisoners are like jacked.
And the CO, you're like, the only reason we're not all dead is because the inmates have made a decision that we're allowed to be alive. Because if they wanted to take this over, they could so easily. So 15 minutes later, the COs are like, "Are you okay?" And it's like, "Yeah, I'm okay," because these guys literally protected me physically. Yeah,
it's crazy.
So I've had a couple situations like that where
was that? In
New Jersey.
New Jersey, yeah. When I heard Latin Kings and Bloods, I was like, yeah, that's up north.
It's up north, yeah.
Down here, it would have been more like the netas and the
netas and
the Puerto Ricans, yeah.
And what's the Haitian gang here?
The Zopan.
Zopan.
Yeah. It's down here in Florida, there's so many. Oh my God, there's so many Puerto Ricans in prison. It's crazy.
You think so? I find more Cubans.
I went to prison.
Yeah, but you here
in Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were locked up in Florida?
Yeah.
But it was federal on state. State
exactly.
is the Latinos are mostly Cubans.
Well, that makes sense because where I was in prison camps, I didn't know this until like right before I left. Only American citizens are allowed to be in prison camps. If you committed a federal crime and you have a green card, you either go to the low, the medium, or the pen.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, that's why there was only like 13 Cubans out of 500 prisoners.
Okay.
I thought the same thing when I went to prison. I'm like, all right, there's going to be Cubans, whatever,
But not federal. Yeah.
No.
So they're all in state. I mean, not all. I don't want to stereotype or offend anyone.
Well, yeah, but they're not. They're like either in the higher security prisons or but in state, it's exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like 500 prisoners, and of the 500 prisoners, 370 were Puerto Rican.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they ran that shit. Yeah.
So you had Latin kings, nietas, all of it.
Yeah, all those. In the prison camp, it's a little different. They don't say it out loud.
Because they're on an honor system.
Yeah, as soon as they hear about that shit, they pluck them up and they throw them up to the higher security prison.
Got you.
So, but you saw it.
You knew.
You knew this guy, that guy,
Yeah.
And I got lucky because I'm Cuban, so whatever. I speak Spanish.
Oh, you're full Cuban?
Yeah,
cool.
On both sides of my family.
Oh, cool.
So I speak Spanish as my first language.
So you're like, I'm good.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, Cuba. They just call me Cuba, whatever. Yeah, cool. So
yeah,
but yeah, they're that's a whole Puerto Ricans, those kids, like that island is like a war zone, man.
Rikers?
No, Puerto Rico.
Oh yeah, it's
crazy.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a place that's like, oh my God, it's crazy. They kill each other over nothing over there, bro.
I mean, I think a lot of Puerto Rico is part of the U.S., but I think a lot of impoverished places, that's how they function.
That's common in Latin America.
Yeah, it's sad. Corrupt governments, things like that. Things that we take for granted.
Sure.
I mean, we can talk about corruption in the American government all day, no matter Republican or Democrat, but it's another level in the elsewhere.
Yeah. Funny enough, I was in there with two Puerto Rican politicians.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How interesting.
I know extensively about the corruption of Puerto Rico.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
The guy was like, there was $50,000 left over, and I didn't take anything. I just kind of kept it. And you have no choice but to laugh because the way this charismatic bastard, you could tell he was a politician because he was charismatic and he was funny and he made
manipulative.
Yeah. You're like, fuck, look at this guy. He wants to be my friend and shit. And like, oh my God. But anyway, yeah, it's crazy. Politicians don't even mean, that's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole nother.
But anyway, all right. So you start going into the prison system when?
23. Yeah, but what's interesting is I was also bartending. So it was like two different worlds.
You're bartending.
I bartended in New York for actually a couple famous people. I'm assuming you're going
to medical school, I'm assuming.
I didn't start my doctorate until I was 30. I did I did a master's degree in New York. But yeah, I was doing my master's during the day, bartending at night, and then working at the prison part-time. Yeah, it was interesting because, to be perfectly honest, working as a bartender in New York and working as a prison psychologist, they have a lot in common. You're dealing with crazy people. You know what I mean?
That's funny.
Yeah.
What prison were you working at?
I worked at Sing Sing. Sing Sing Correctional Facility.
There's those infamous prisons like, San Quentin.
Yep.
Rikers.
Yeah.
Sing Sing.
Yeah. Sing Sing is awesome because it was built in it looks like Shawshank Redemption.
Oh my God.
Like they opened the
gate
cell with the skeleton key, the old school big skeleton key, one at a time. Yeah, and it's built of like bricks. It's beautiful if you look. I mean, architecturally beautiful. If you look at it online,
right.
It's like going into like Shawshank Redemption.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
man, that's pretty wild. I remember you telling me something. I had never heard this term, and funny enough, I was in prison. So gunning is a thing?
Gunning is a thing. Yeah.
If I'm not, so for those of you that don't know what this is when an inmate like pulls out his penis.
Yes, and masturbates in front of you. Yeah. That's a thing.
Oh my God.
And I'm in 22 years of working in corrections, I've seen way more than my fair share.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I would assume
not fun.
I would assume not. I mean this in a totally innocent way. You're pretty hot, so I would, like that's not a good idea to be that attractive working in a prison.
thank you for the compliment. But number one, first of all, when I go to prison, there's no makeup.
I would assume
you're like scrubs, baggy. I look homeless.
Fucking big ass glasses.
Yeah. But I really find that
like a fake retainer.
Yeah, it's just I don't look anything. But
I get you.
But I think that's also a misconception that people think, oh, you're an attractive female. Why are you working in prisons? You're setting yourself up. I found that 95% of inmates, you treat them with respect, they treat you with respect.
Right.
No matter what you look like, 100%. No matter your male. You know what I mean? And that's something people don't get. Oh, you go in there, they must be like bothering. No. You teach, sometimes they look at you as a mother, a wife, a sister, a daughter. So they have that kind of, most of them respect you. They're humans. Obviously, you treat them with respect.
Right.
You have your 5-10% that are gunning and being pigs, and they're going to say dumb crap to you. Crazy. But they do that to male COs anyway.
Yeah.
Women do have it rougher, but your gift of gab is your best weapon in prison. If I treat the inmates with respect, look at what happened when they protected me. That was because I respected them. I didn't treat them like you're subhuman.
100%.
You're a man. You're a human. And I'm no better than you. You just happen to be on that side of the fence. I'm on this side of the fence.
For sure.
So, that's a big misconception. Like, oh, you must get treated like crap or sexism, and not if you carry yourself appropriately.
Not if you reciprocate respect.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. For sure.
Besides that, the few that are never going to stop.
But that's just the world. That's not even prison.
Yeah, you can see that on walking down the street in Miami.
There's always 5% of people that are just not good people.
Correct. Or that are going to catcall you or say some dumb crap.
What I find interesting is, again, going back to empathy, right? This empathic part of me. And it gets stronger like every day of my life, I swear. Which, again, I'm not it's not that it's a bad thing. It's a good thing to be empathic. But it's like when you're that tapped into other people's feelings, it's a little draining, It's draining, and you have to learn to put boundaries because you have to learn that you're not responsible for the way other people feel. Right, which is hard, especially if you're a mean person or a hurtful person. But I had to learn that the hard way because I used to take my work home with me mentally. Oh my God, that's so exhausting.
So especially my mentally ill inmates, the schizophrenics, the ones that had no family, the homeless ones, the ones that were serving life, the really sad cases, I would go home and lose sleep and be upset about it. And I had a mentor who was like, you can only do so much. And when you leave the gate, you have to let it go because or else you're burning yourself out. You're hurting yourself. You're not going to be service to your patients. And that was a tough lesson to learn. And of course, we're human and it's good to have empathy because you care about other people. I was just at McDonald's. I'm not proud of that, but I was just at McDonald's getting a Diet Coke.
I was
getting a Diet Coke. I don't, but I was getting a Diet Coke. Maybe twice a year. And I saw this pretty poorly dressed individual, if you will. He looked like he probably didn't have a lot of money. Maybe was working construction under the table. And he came in and he said to the McDonald's cashier, "Hey, there's a homeless man eating outside of the garbage, outside from the garbage." And he took out $2. He said, "Can I please get a burger? I'm going to buy him a burger." And I thought, look at that. That's this isn't a rich guy. He doesn't look, and I was stereotyping, but I was being judgmental, but I was like, this guy obviously doesn't have a lot of money,
right?
But he has enough empathy to buy a burger for somebody who has less money. Like that, that's amazing. That's where empathy goes right.
Right. Agreed.
I think it's a good thing.
It is. As long as you're not trying to help others when you're not even self-care is what I'm saying. Self-care is important.
Can't be Captain Save a Human.
100%.
Save a hoe, save an inmate, whatever. You can't because it's going to hurt you in the end.
Yeah.
Sure. So empathy is great, but if it goes too far, you end up hurting yourself. And you end up enabling the other person too.
You're pouring from an empty cup.
Right. Right.
It's never ideal.
Right.
I think I see that all the time where, people who aren't personally, they're just dealing with a lot. And they're trying to run a business or be in a relationship or do this or the kids. And it's bro, put all that to the side for a second and kind of this needs to be in order.
Totally.
Because if this and this aren't in order,
correct,
nothing else is going to work.
And it's not. And there's a balance between that because also I think helping other people serves us internally, right? So even if you're depleted, if you can somehow help another human, and that might be the smallest thing like what I witnessed today.
Right.
Taking $2 out your pocket and saying, "Hey, there's a guy eating out the garbage. I would like to buy him a burger."
100%.
Something like that takes you maybe 2 minutes. That's going to serve you internally. You're going to feel better. It's just the law of the land for most humans, obviously.
I mean, most of us.
Yeah, for most. Yeah. I still think most humans are good people.
Yeah. I mean, even the people who do bad things, all I see in their eyes, like when I look at those people, is like, I see their dad leaving them as a kid, or I see their mom beating them up as, when they were 5, or I see, their teacher like yelling at them when they got an F and calling them stupid or whatever. Like I see those things, and it's unfortunate because I think trauma, like, I think sometimes we use trauma as an excuse to shit on other people.
100%.
And it's not cool, bro.
100%.
Like, other people have nothing to do with my pain.
Right. Correct. Correct.
So that takes a lot of growth because I haven't always been this person.
I'm the same as you. Yeah, there was a time where I had a very much a victim mentality. It's your fault. It's my school's fault. It's my parents' fault. It's the credit card company's fault. It's everybody else's fault. When I was younger, and if you had my life, you would act the same way that I act.
Exactly.
And then hopefully you learn and you realize, like what we talked about earlier, personal accountability. And it's like when I hear, like, for example, this is a horrible example, but it's going to make sense. When I hear sex offenders say that, oh, well, I was sexually abused as a child. Okay, most people who are sexually abused as a child don't go on to sexually abuse others. That's a misconception. A lot of people get sexually abused. That doesn't mean they grow up to be sex offenders. Most of them don't. So if sexual abuse for anyone is horrible, but that doesn't justify you turning into that same person when you're older. To me, that's a perfect example. Or it's same with physical abuse. My dad used to beat me, so I beat my kids. Well, how are we going to stop that cycle? The cycle,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember hearing this anecdotal story when I was a kid. There's these 2 twin brothers that were raised by the same guy. He was alcoholic. He beat them. He was very bad to them. Mm-hmm. And then they both grew up, and one of them becomes an alcoholic and beats his kids and beats his wife and is verbally abusive. And then the other one grows up to be successsul, make a lot of money, very loving wife, has a great relationship with his kids, is a great father, a great husband, a great man. And then they get interviewed, and the person asks the one who turned out like his father, why is it that you are the way you are? Why did you make these choices? With a father like mine, how do you expect me to turn out, right? And then they go to the other brother and they ask him, why did you make these choices? Why did you turn out this way? With a father like mine, what do you expect?
That. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a personal choice.
But I think it's also in psychology, we take what's called a biopsychosocial model, which is we look at biology, we look at psychology, we look at sociology, because it's a makeup of everything. It's a makeup of your environment, your brain, how you were born, how you were raised, your school, your socioeconomic level, things like that. And so we have twin studies, kind of like the one you were just talking about, twins that were, put up for adoption and raised in 2 separate homes.
Right.
And one was raised in a loving, caring, productive family, and the other one was raised in an abusive family. And watching how that, changes them. And trauma can destroy somebody. I've seen it destroy so many lives, especially in the correctional system, in the criminal justice system. But
it's pretty wild.
It's not guaranteed your life is messed up. A lot of people have trauma and they don't end up, in that system.
I think everybody has trauma to an extent, right?
I think so.
And people who are like hyper successful, if you want to give it that's their biggest motivating factor, is the shit they went through as a kid. Just to point at a hyper successful individual is Elon Musk. His biggest thing is like his relationship with his father. He talks about it all the time. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's what motivated him to create all these things that, Tesla and all this stuff that people love. So it's like, you can either let that hinder you, let that be the excuse to hurt other people, or you can use that to motivate you to be a better person.
Yeah.
It's all, and it's that word perspective, man, in the human language is just it has so much depth to it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like what you talked about with empathy. Empathy means basically you can put yourself in somebody else's shoes and you can understand what they're thinking, feeling. That doesn't mean you excuse it, but you can understand it. And I think, we live in a pretty selfish, self-centered society. We wake up in the morning, how am I going to make money? What am I going to do? How do I feel? How do I think? Me. It's kind of conditioned in us. And if we stop and think, how does I should check on my mother, or, have I done any charity lately? Or, just again, should I buy somebody a cheeseburger who's eating out the garbage? If we stop and switch to that perspective a little more often, I think we'd just be a better society.
I agree.
Yeah.
For me, whenever I get too caught up in have those depressing thoughts or whatever, immediately what I do is I just reach out to someone else and I just care about them. Like, I just show love on them. Like, hey, how you doing? How's your day?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
And that can sometimes change your whole mindset.
Gone. Like, right? As soon as I'm talking to the person and I'm hearing about their day, and I've noticed in life, the more I give other people what I want, the more I get it.
Agreed. And I think that's really lacking in our society. They use that in 12-step programs. When you feel bad, or you feel like taking a drink, or you feel like taking a drug, call somebody else who's suffering and ask them how their day is, and just shut up and listen. How are they feeling? And then that'll take you out of yourself. And I love that notion. The service is really, we need to do more of that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys, taking a quick break from the podcast to bring you a word from our sponsor, Christian J. DePaz. Appreciate him for coming through. He offers a phenomenal service. Guys, I'm a big promoter of entrepreneurship, owning a company, starting a business, doing your own thing, and chasing your own dreams. But as the old saying goes, takes money to make money. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Christian J. DePaz and what he does. He gets funding for new and startup businesses. Christian, tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you so much, bro, for the opportunity to come inside your podcast and help more entrepreneurs start their own business or scale their current businesses. So what we do here at Secure Funding is that we'll help you acquire anywhere between $50,000 to $150,000 at 0% interest rate business credit, so that you can, once again, start or scale your current business. So if you come here from our good friend Nelson, there's no other you're coming from, then we'll have him at the podcast and we'll take extra good care of you. With that being said, brother, thank you so much for bringing us on.
Of course. What are you waiting for, guys? Click the link in the bio. So what are some good, as far as like good things to keep you in a good mental state? What are some things that you've seen worked to kind of like a regular practice that the everyday individual can do to make sure they're in a good state of mental health?
Well, for me, gym is super important.
That's one of the best ones that most people don't do.
Yeah, I think physical exercise is everything. I mean, I could be having depressive thoughts, and if I push myself to go to the gym, like they're gone. Yeah. And I like to practice what I preach. I have a therapist. I go to therapy.
The therapist has a therapist?
Of course. I think every therapist should have a therapist, because think about it. I have to hear people's crap all day, horrible stuff, abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, trauma, lifers, violence, gang stuff. If I don't talk about how I'm doing to somebody else, how can I be of service to my patients? You know what I mean? And I think a lot more doctoral programs are requiring their doctoral students to be in therapy. Like, it's becoming mandatory, and I think that's great. So, I think I'm obviously biased. I think everybody should have a therapist, or at least at some point in their life, to deal with their stuff. Having a support system, my friends, my family, making sure, and I'm pretty much a workaholic. It sounds like you are too. I have a problem with that, having to be like, close the laptop, go outside, do something, and just again, everything in moderation, trying to live life more balanced, and it ebbs and flows.
100%.
Yeah. There are some weeks where it's work. There are some weeks where it's like, I probably should turn off Netflix. I'm on episode 9. Are you still watching? Yeah.
You sound like an extremist.
I am.
Yeah, that sounds like somebody I know.
I did it with the gym. I did it with school. I did it with sports. I did it, all the way. It in some ways, it served me, like school. When I was a gymnast and I was competing on the national level, it served me. But in some ways, as I get older, it's like, you don't have to have the go hard or go home attitude with everything.
Fair enough.
Not with everything, or maybe not all the time. Even with cookies, don't put cookies in my house because I'm eating the whole bag. That's how I roll. So go hard or go home is not always the good way. It's not. I can't. Don't buy me a dozen Dunkin' Donuts. I'll eat the whole thing.
What?
Gone. What? Pizza pie? All of it.
What?
Go hard or go home.
Bro.
Yeah, bro.
It's hard to find a woman out here with an appetite, man.
Oh, no.
That's dope. Yeah. That's cool.
Not a problem.
Not a problem.
Maybe a problem, actually.
That's funny. Yeah, I the older I get, the more I realize balance is a myth. There's no such thing as balance.
You think so?
I'll tell you what I do, and this is what I do in my life. Do tell. When I'm working really hard, I feel like I'm letting down my family. I feel like I'm falling short on my fitness goals. I feel like I'm falling short on my personal goal to find a wife and have kids. I feel like I'm falling short on my spiritual goals to meditate and be with God and enlighten, like become an enlightened person. I feel like I'm falling short with my educational goals, reading and like learning and implementing the things I learned. I'm falling short with a lot. When I'm home and I shut everything off and I'm not working, I feel like I'm falling short with my work goals and my career goals.
I'm the same way.
So
it's never enough.
Never. When I'm meditating, when I'm reading the Bible, when I'm doing the spiritual stuff, I feel like I'm falling short with
not working at the gym. Yeah. No.
So I realize life is unbalanced at all times. Just be unbalanced when you're supposed to be unbalanced. Like give things time. Like prioritize things. Yeah. And just be unbalanced. And it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree, but it sounds like the imbalance is more in your head than it is in reality, because it sounds like you are doing God, you are doing meditation, you are doing gym, you are doing reading, you are doing work, you are doing, so if you step back and look at it like, okay, I'm not doing that bad.
Yeah.
But I'm the same way, because if I'm working, I'm like, damn, I haven't even called my friends in like a week. Again, watching Netflix, like you've been on this couch for how many hours? Get up. It's never enough. And you have to get to a point where you're like, I am who I am. For me, structure. I need structure. And it's hard because I work for myself. So there are days that I can be like, I'll do it later.
The eternal entrepreneur struggle. Yeah. Self-discipline, Yeah.
Yeah. It's worth it, but it's hard.
The good news when you're an entrepreneur is you don't have a boss. The bad news is you don't have a boss. That's how you end up eating Doritos for 2 hours. Watching the 5th season of Cobra Kai,
not Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai is the shit.
No, stop. You're like,
bro, are you kidding me? You don't like 80s movies? You don't like
Karate Kid is one of my all-time favorite movies. The original.
How do you not like Cobra
I know
Kai?
That movie word for word. Okay. I don't want to watch Cobra Kai because it's going to kill it for me.
What do you mean?
I won't even watch. Did you watch the new Coming to America?
Oh, that was trash. I watched it, but it was
trash, right? It killed the original one. Same with Top Gun. I'm not watching it.
Stop.
Original Top Gun. They better never remake Scarface. They better never remake any of that. Never.
Bringing up my friend. This is called the Montana Method podcast.
Okay, so some movies are classics, and you need to leave them alone.
Cobra Kai is very good.
I don't know.
It's very good. I don't know. Listen to me. This is a person who hates sequels. By the way, Top Gun 2 was very good.
You don't hate sequels.
No.
You like Cobra Kai. You like Top Gun 2.
But there's exceptions to the rule, Dr. Haji.
Okay, you might be right. You might be.
I can list on like one hand the only movies that had good sequels.
All right, fair.
I'll tell you one right now.
Coming to America wasn't one of them.
No, Terminator. Terminator 2 was way better than Terminator 1.
Okay, Terminator.
But that's an exception to the rule.
That's an exception to fair.
Sequels typically are okay.
Fair.
I'm just saying.
Fair.
Films are. Movies are my thing.
Movies are your thing. Okay.
There's a short list, you can.
Yeah.
Rocky 4. That was the best Rocky. Rocky 4 was the best Rocky.
Sequels back then were
different.
They
were. Now that you mention it, it's mostly older movies.
Yeah. Die Hard. The last Die Hard was horrible. The one with the helicopter.
Yeah, but Die Hard 2 was pretty good.
Die Hard 2, and even Die Hard 3 was
also pretty good.
And then they Yeah. But Die Hard 1 is always going to be the classic.
True.
Always going to be the classic.
True.
It is a Christmas movie. I don't care what anybody says. It's a Christmas movie. It's a Christmas movie.
The eternal argument. And then you have The Hangover, bro. You're going to tell me The Hangover 2 wasn't better than Hangover 1?
No.
What?
Absolutely
You're crazy.
Not.
Hangover 2 was way better.
Dr. Faggot, excuse my language, doesn't get better than that. That's amazing. There's no way you can beat Dr. Faggot.
Bitchy Dr. Faggot.
Yeah, and that would never fly today. And if I didn't mean to offend anyone, but it doesn't get better than that. Hangover 2 is not better than Hangover.
That is funny. Oh my God.
There's no way.
But the scene when they're racing in their little Toyota Camry and they smash into the market with all the pork and the fucking pork hits them in the face and it explodes and it's like, and the guy's like, bro, he had sex with a tranny. Come on. That's hilarious. That's
not Dr. Faggot. I'm sorry. It's amazing.
What's your favorite movie?
Of all time?
Of all time.
Oh my God. That's a tough one. This is so cliche, especially since I live in Miami, but Scarface is definitely in my top 5.
My God.
I just love Scarface.
Bro,
it was so well done.
Do you not understand that my book is called Montana Method?
Okay,
This is called
so
the Montana
we're on
Method.
the same. I think that movie is amazing, and I can watch.
Man.
I've seen it so many times.
We're destined to be friends.
Yeah, that movie's so good. I don't care if you're so Miami and you're probably gonna go buy a Scarface shirt on South Beach. No, I'm not. But that movie is forever amazing.
If you live in Miami and you haven't seen Scarface, you need to leave the city immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately. Like,
I agree.
There's no room for you in the city.
Scarface, Coming to America is a classic. The ones we talked about, Karate Kid, old school movies, Dirty Dancing, Top Gun.
That's a good one.
Those are all pretty.
Top Gun 2 was good. I'm telling you should watch it.
I'm not doing it. Not doing it. I heard it was good too.
I'm telling you. It made like $1 billion.
I don't care. I don't care.
Jesus.
Even Bad Boys. Bad Boys, Martin Lawrence and Will Smith.
Another one. Wait. Hold on. Time out.
And what's with Fast and Furious 47? Like, what are we up to?
No. That's too much. Wait, but hold on. Bad Boys 2 was better than Bad Boys 1.
Negative.
Bad Boys 2 is the best Bad Boys.
Negative.
Bad Boys 3 and 4, no.
I won't watch 3 and 4.
2 was the best Bad Boys. 100%.
I have to go back and see.
Go watch it. One after with the other two. Watch part 1
Watch
and part
1 and 2. Okay.
And then you're like, all right, yeah, part 2 is better. Very few. I'm telling you, it's like less than 1% of movies.
All right, I gotta go back and check.
For sure. So, I usually ask 3 questions at the end of my podcast to wrap up. So, our time is up, but it's not by choice. Unfortunately, all good things come to an end. Question number 1. What inspires you?
What inspires me? Probably my parents. My father, unfortunately, is deceased and my mother is suffering from dementia, but my parents were very, they really cared about other people. They really cared about helping others. They were hardworking, honest, good, down to earth, just amazing people. So I think that inspires me. And injustice drives me nuts. Just any injustice, whether it's racism, misogyny, the criminal justice system, plea deals injustice really bothers me, and it motivates me. So I would say those are my 2 inspirations.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think what's that old? I forgot who said it. The only thing that has to happen for evil to prosper in the world is for good men to do nothing.
Yeah.
Who says that? I forgot.
Who says that?
Yeah.
We should know that.
It's a great quote.
Okay, we have to Google it.
Yeah, it's like a super famous person, I'm sure.
Yeah. Like Innocence Project. Like people getting that. I can't even watch that stuff on TV. Innocent people in prison. I can't watch that.
It's like the St. Jude commercials. I can't
watch that either. And I can't watch ASPCA. I love animals. I love animals. I can't watch that stuff.
What's the one that talks about the kids in Africa?
I can't watch that either. Is it a Christian children's fund? I can't watch that either.
It's too much.
Yeah. I want to help all of them, but I if I had Jeff Bezos money, maybe I would, but I don't.
Maybe one day. Who knows?
Maybe one day.
I mean, Mackenzie Bezos became the richest woman in the world from that divorce.
And she gave a lot to charity.
There you go.
A lot. 40%?
And she married a teacher.
I love her.
That?
Good for her.
That was the ultimate, like, fuck you to Jeff Bezos.
Maybe she really cares about love.
I think she was just searching for the total opposite of Jeff.
Maybe.
Which is okay. I'm not saying that's wrong.
Yeah. But whatever makes people happy.
You know, instead of marrying the richest guy in the world, I'm going to marry a school teacher. You know?
Good for her. She already has the money.
There's nothing wrong with that. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Kudos to him for being able to get found. Anyway. Question number 2. What's next for you?
That's a really good question. What's next for me? I want to probably grow my private practice and get to a point where I can have more psychologists working in the field. And also I've started doing some media. So I've done a TV show that's doing really well on Amazon Prime now.
I need to watch it.
Yeah, please watch it. It's called World's Most Evil Prisoners.
World's Most Evil Prisoners.
Yeah, I think I'm on like 5 or 6 episodes. And I filmed 4 more TV shows.
Oh.
Yeah, so hopefully, I don't ever want to not work with patients because that's my passion, but maybe I can pick and choose my cases so I can just be on TV talking about psychopaths.
So you're saying in 6 months I won't be able to book you on another podcast?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I did just speak to an entertainment lawyer to go over my contract though.
Okay. All right.
Gosh, they charge a lot. Yeah, so maybe some more media, growing my practice, and I need to travel more. I need to take more vacations.
You sound like me.
I used to travel all the time and now I just don't because you get it. I think it's not just about spending the money for the vacation, but it's like all those days I'm not going to be working, so I'm going to be losing money. But you can't think that way. You have to take that time.
You'll be a better person. You'll come back refreshed,
Correct.
recharged.
So I have to do that.
Yeah. Last question. How do you want to be remembered?
Oh, that's deep. I want to be remembered.
I mean, that's kind of my thing.
Yeah, I know. You're awesome. You are awesome.
Thank you.
No, you are. How do I want to be remembered? I want to be remembered as somebody, this goes back to the other question. I want to be remembered as somebody who cared and did something about injustice. The less fortunate, you know. When I work with juveniles in the criminal justice system, and you get these horror stories. My mom was on cocaine. My mom was on crack. My dad was in prison. I was in foster care. I was beat. I was hungry. I didn't have any shoes. I was bullied. I was made fun of. And then they end up in juvie. And you're like, this isn't a bad kid. This is a kid who had a shit set of circumstances. And like we talked about, I'm all for personal accountability, but this is a child. This is different. His brain isn't fully developed yet. That to me really, knowing that I can be helpful in that arena with kids in the criminal justice system, I would like to be remembered for that.
I love that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I could talk to you all day.
Yeah. I could talk to you all day.
Okay. We'll do it again then.
Alrighty, guys. That was another episode of the Montana Method Podcast. A special guest, Dr. Lina Haji. Push it to the limit. The world is yours. If you're not chasing a dream, life is meaningless, guys. Get you on the next one. Say goodnight to the bad guy.
I've been out here hustling all my life. Every day we get into it. Really out here in these streets. That's day and night. Like there's nothing to it. When I was going through it, dog, I never got your call. I never asked for nothing, no. But now I want it all. I promise I'ma do it. Came from rags to riches. Rags to riches. Came from rags to riches. Rags to riches. Came from rags.